Welcome to the X Corner. I'm here once again to add a little mutation to the superhero crew. I'll be covering the X comics for the week of January 10th, 2018, and this week we have 5 comics. Cable 153, Old Man Logan 33, Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey number 3, XMen Blue 19, and XMen Cold Annual number 1. And there will be spoilers ahead. We'll start with Cable 153. The writer is Ed Brisson, and the penciler is John Mallon. This is the Newer Mutants Part 4, and it continues the story of Cable trying to find out who is killing the Eternals. It turns out it's Gideon from the far future. By the end, Selene is the only one left, and she comes to Cable for help. My only hope for the series is to see all the Eternals dead. Shatterstar says it best, though, when he says, time-traveling mutants, impossible to keep track of. This series is definitely well drawn and written, but I just have no connection to it. At least this issue finally clears everything up as to what was going on. There is a great scene where Armor is forced to create a giant force field night to save the team from being blown up. But other than that, I'm just not that into it. Hopefully next issue will wrap this up so we might be able to get into a story I'm interested in. And I do believe last time I started reading a Cable comic, the same thing happened, and I dropped off. Maybe I only like Cable, not in his own book. I might have some soul searching to do, but I'll give it until next storyline to see if I can stay with it. I'm only going to give it a 6 out of 10, just because I understood what was happening at least. Up next, we have Old Man Logan number 33. The writer here, too, is Ed Brisson, amazingly, and the penciler is Mike Deodato. This is the Scarlet Samurai Part 3, and has Old Man Logan encountering his long-lost, dead love Mariko, now the Scarlet Samurai, who's under the control of the Hand, who resurrected her. He escapes and eventually teams up with the Silver Samurai to take back control of the Yashida Corporation and stop the Hand from giving all their soldiers the Regenex drug that will make them nearly immortal. Silver Surfer fights the Hand's leader Gorgon, and Logan confronts Mariko. After Gorgon runs away, the Silver Samurai injects Mariko with a cure for the Hand brainwashing and sends Logan on a mission to find the last of the drug that got away, and it was sent to Mandragora. I knew this comic was good when I started writing this review, and only halfway through I realized I was calling Old Man Logan Wolverine the whole time. Brisson has the feel of Wolverine down, and it was done so well, I was fooled into forgetting this wasn't a Wolverine comic. The banter between Logan and Silver Samurai was great, and it plays nicely into the Old Man Logan and Deadpool miniseries. You can tell this is the same Wolverine, having to deal with teaming up with people he doesn't want to. I gushed over the art last time, and it's still great. The use of speed lines in a fight scene played even more into the Asian feel of the book. I'm curious to see if it'll change as they go to Mandragora. I guess the only thing I could say bad about this book is that it is Old Man Logan and not Wolverine. It just makes me miss the original more. But now that the OG is coming back, maybe we can start getting stories like this with him too. Rating 9 out of 10. Next is the ever-present Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey, number 3. The writer is Matthew Rosenberg. Penciler for this one is Joe Bennett. This issue begins again with Jean dreaming of dying, and she once again runs into some familiar faces in her pocket universe, including Patch, a ruggedly handsome mechanic who hits on her, and what seems to be Darwin, I think. She seems to be losing it a bit, and she's freaking out, but it switches over to the real world, where Kitty's team finds Jean's empty grave, and is forced to seek the help of the last psychic they know to try and find Jean, Emma Frost. Emma tells him to go to the Mesa in New Mexico, where, from my recollection, the Phoenix, not Jean, and Cyclops had some romantic times. They do, and Magic finds a mysterious invisible dome, which I assume leads to Jean's refuge. We once again go back to Jean as she's confronted by the Phoenix herself. This mini continues to be good, with little drawn out, but with it weekly, it's not so bad. You don't have to wait much longer for the next part. Not much happens in this issue, but I still enjoy seeing the groups of people Kitty keeps finding. Danny Moonstar even made an appearance here. This series is great and will be an important event, with what we are promised in the title to be the resurrection of Jean Grey. Let's hope the second half is as good as the first. 9 out of 10. Up next is XMen Blue 19. The writer is Cullen Bunn, and the penciler is R.B. Silva. It's the Cross-Time Caper, Part 3. It's the young X-Men come back in time to see what they think is themselves trying to murder Magneto. They've killed the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and then they fire a nuke at Mags. But the time-displaced X-Men pull themselves and Magneto out of time to save him. They make a plan to attack the X-Men to find out what the hell is going on. They do find out, only to see that the X-Men are imposters. They are in fact the evil X-Men from the far future, come back to claim the X-Men name. Confused? I know I am. This series is finally clearing up what's going on, at least. I recognize the future bad X-Men from somewhere along the line, but I can't remember where. Please comment below. This whole series seems to be heading for the end of the young X-Men, and if they aren't returned to their rightful time soon, I'd be surprised. This is yet another series where I could see it's well written, but it's just not connecting with me. I'd say I'd see if I'll stick with it, but I think my decision might be made for me, from what I'm hearing. Also, I actually think now that these time shenanigans are wrapping up, this might be better, so here's hoping. I still give it a 7 out of 10. Lastly, we have the XMen Gold Annual number 1. And we'll split this one into 2 parts, because there's 2 stories in it. And we'll begin with the Excalibur reunion called the Cross-Atlantic Caper. All these are puns on the cross-time caper from Excalibur originally. And the writers are Lee Williams and Mark Guggenheim, and the penciler is Aletha E. Martinez. And let me just start by saying I am an Excalibur mark from way back. I bought the first issue as a kid when I was staying in Montreal, and since then I've been hooked. Needless to say, this annual has a 20th anniversary Excalibur reunion story, and I literally leapt from excitement. We have a cute little story where Megan and Brian send Kitty, a stork, to announce the birth of their baby. Kitty drops everything, grabs Kurt, Nightcrawler, and Rachel, the Phoenix, who were also original members of Excalibur, and they head off to England to see the baby. They do have a reason, but they fly commercial, which is quite funny. And once they get there, they'll find that the baby is not normal. Little Maggie is 3 months old, but she can talk and is super intelligent. But for some reason, it's not annoying in any way. She asks questions like, what is blue? And in the end, fixes an alien interdimensional remote to save the day. But I'm skipping ahead a bit. As the Excalibur team is reunited, an alien attacks looking for revenge on the Phoenix, who destroyed his homeworld famously in Uncanny X-Men 135. He teleports all the heroes on Earth to various random dimensions to render Earth defenseless and thereby get his revenge. But as I mentioned, Maggie gets the team to get her the remote, and she programs it to send the alien anytime he wants to a dimension where his homeworld was not destroyed, and thereby saves the day. This was such a nice little reunion. I hope to see more of Excalibur team in the future. And there is, at the end, it does say the end with a question mark, so I'm excited about that. There is a scene where Kurt is trying to hook up the baby harness to Captain Britain in the middle of a battle, which made me chuckle. And Baby Maggie was so well written. She could have been annoying, but she was not. And I hope to see more of her as she grows up. And we might be witnessing the next generation of heroes beginning here. The whole story had a humorous tone, which is nice for a change, because the XMen Gold title is usually pretty serious. The only thing I can say I didn't like was Brian's haircut. Short on the sides, long on the top, full beard. When did Captain Britain become a hipster? 9 out of 10. And the second story in the annual is called Why I Love the X-Men. The writer is Monty Nero, and the artist is Djibril Fan. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This tale follows a little girl in the big city who just wants to meet the X-Men, and especially Storm. She's an uber fangirl, but keeps missing the team as they fight Fin Fang Foom and the Mole Man across New York City. Along the way, she meets people who say terrible racist things about the X-Men, but her fandom never wavers. Finally, she gets to meet Storm, who gives her and her patient aunt, who has been dragged across the city, a special ride in a photo shoot. The story ends with a touching scene of Storm putting the picture on a pegboard and saying that they're making progress. This story reminds me of the backups in the reprint series Classic X-Men. Just a simple little tale, but it adds much to the mythology of the X-Men. The little girl running around New York City is every X-Men fan, and no matter what, you can't help feeling something reading it. When she goes to the X-Mansion, but the team isn't there, and Enola tries to tell her he's an X-Men too, she dismisses him, since she only wants the classic team. Priceless. Also, Storm's reaction to the girls screaming when they see her, thinking it was a sonic attack, could have been cheesy, but it had enough feels to be right. Also, the girl says amazeballs, so I love her. What a nice story. This annual might not have been big on action or set pieces, but it was huge on story and heart, and I can't recommend it enough for the X-Men fan. Once again, 9 out of 10. So that's the X Comics for January 10th, 2018, and that's a lot of 9s. These Marvel peeps know what they're doing. They must be doing something right to melt my cold, dead heart. See you next week!